Module 10, Project Communication Management Module Overview. Project communication management includes the processes necessary to ensure that the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met through development of artifacts and implementation of activities designed to achieve effective information exchange. Project communications management consists of two parts. The first part is developing a strategy to ensure communication is effective for stakeholders, and the second part is carrying out the activities necessary to implement the communication strategy. As from PMBOK Guide, page 359. What we will cover in this module: 10. Project Communications Management Module Overview, which is this video. 10.1. Plan Communications Management. This is the process of developing an appropriate approach and plan for project communication activities based on the information needs of each stakeholder or group, available organizational assets and the needs of the project. 10.2. Manage communications. The process of ensuring timely and appropriate collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, monitoring and the ultimate disposition of project information. 10.3. Monitor communications. The process of ensuring the information needs of the project and its stakeholders are met. Key concepts for project communication management. Communications is concerned with both the information to be shared and how it is actually shared. Not all information is shared intentionally. For example, when you're speaking with someone in person, then your body language will be sharing information from your subconscious mind. And it may be not exactly the same message as the words and tones you're using. It's like being approached by a dog that's snarling at you but also wagging its tail, and you don't know which end to believe. As well as words and body language, you can share information in other ways too, such as written or typed, spoken, this could be face-to-face, video or voice only, formal, such as a signed contract, or informal, such as social media or email, but caution needs to be used with electronic messages because we are still responsible for them, as many people have found out to their cost. Through gestures, tones of voice and facial expressions. The PMBOK Guide has listed this separately, but there's quite an overlap with body language. Okay, through media, pictures, charts and drawings. Choice of words, especially in the English language, there are many ways to state the same thing. However, although some words and phrases are interchangeable, others have subtle differences and send a slightly different message or different intent behind the message. So a poor choice of words can be confusing, especially if a statement is ambiguous. For example, suppose you sent me an email, how was Sam's report? And if I were to respond, Sam's report is outstanding. You can't tell just from those words whether 1. Sam's report is late, or Sam's report is excellent. 2 almost opposite meanings, yet exactly the same words. If I were to meet with you and tell you rather than just email, then you would almost certainly know what the difference from the tone of my expression. If I were to respond just by voice, just by tone, again, you'd be able to tell. Sam's report is outstanding, spoken with a negative tone. Sam's report is outstanding, spoken with a positive tone. Of course, to improve the communication using email, I could have said either Sam's report is late or Sam's report is excellent. Then the message is clear, so please be careful on your choice of words. Communications describe the possible means by which the information could be sent or received, either through communication activities such as meetings and presentations, or artifacts such as emails, social media, project reports or project documentation. Something that's important to know for the exam is how much time a project manager spends communicating on the project. Strange as it may seem, this question is often asked. So if the question were, how much time does a project manager spend communicating on a project, would it be A, 10%, B, 30%, C, 75%, or D, 95%? What do you think? The correct answer is D, a staggering 95%. But please remember that communicating doesn't just mean talking, it includes emails, reports, charts, diagrams, meetings, presentations, phone calls, developing strategies and plans for suitable communications artefacts and artefacts within the stakeholder community, and the application of skills to enhance the effectiveness of the plan and other ad hoc communication, and whatever other ways there are, both within the project team and externally. I joined the company about 20 years ago as a project manager. I settled in for an hour or two, and then I went round to the program director and said to him, "What do you expect from me as a project manager?" And he said, "Do you see your chair over there?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I seldom want to see you sitting in it." That's all he said. When a project manager gets it right, proper inclusive communications bridge the gap between all of the stakeholders, irrespective of their level, background or culture. Let's be honest here, you aren't going to win the heart and mind of everyone you communicate with, but you have to try your best anyway. The PMBOK Guide tells us that communication can be formal. These would include reports, formal meetings, both regular and ad hoc, meeting agendas and minutes, stakeholder briefings and presentations. They can also be informal, which are general communication activities using emails, social media, websites and informal ad hoc discussions. Hierarchical focus. The position of the stakeholder or group with respect to the project team will affect the format and content of the message in the following ways. Upward, to senior management stakeholders. Downward, the team and others who will contribute to the work of the project. Horizontal, peers of the project manager or team. There will be official, annual reports, reports to regulators or government bodies. Unofficial, communications that focus on establishing and maintaining the profile and recognition of the project and building strong relationships between the project team and the stakeholders using flexible and often informal means. Written and oral. Verbal, words and word inflections, and non-verbal, body language and actions, social media and websites, media releases. Strategy always precedes a plan, and communications are no different. After developing a strategy to meet the needs of the project and stakeholders, and then socialising it for what use is a strategy for communication. If you don't communicate it, then you develop your communications plan. As we have discussed in this lesson, there are many messages and artifacts, people involved in a project both internally and externally, and the purpose of the communication plan is to ensure the right information and the right level of detail is delivered to the right people in the right way at the right time. Right? The right information also implies that people will get to see only what they're authorised to see. I've been caught out by this a few times by responding to a lengthy email, you know, the sort that's been bounced around the organisation for quite a while and is growing longer and longer and longer each time someone responds. Then because everyone has been responded to, all people at the beginning of the list who are probably not authorised to read any of this information get copied in on it anyway, so that's something to guard against. Project communications are the products of the planning process addressed by the communications management plan that defines the collection, creation, dissemination, storage, retrieval, management tracking and disposition of these communication artifacts. That's from PMBOK Guide page 362. I'm pretty sure this paragraph has another typo. I believe the word disposition should actually be disposal, i.e. when the messages reach the end of life, they should be disposed or destroyed. Maybe it's different in America, but I still feel so. The communication plan, if followed, should help avoid misunderstandings or at least reduce them considerably. Using the 5 C's of written communication in composing a traditional, i.e. non-social media message, written or spoken message. According to the PMBOK Guide on page 363, the 5 C's weren't written by PMI, by the way. You'll find them in other books and other websites. But the 5 C's are correct grammar and spelling. Persuasive grammar or inaccurate spelling can be distracting and can also introduce distortions into the message, diminishing credibility. Concise expression and elimination of excess words. A concise, well-crafted message reduces opportunities for misunderstanding the intent of the message. Clear purpose and expression directed to the needs of the reader. Ensure that the needs and interests of the audience are factored into the message. Coherent logical flow of ideas. A coherent logical flow of ideas and using markers such as introductions and summaries of the ideas throughout the writing. The next C is controlling flow of words and ideas. Controlling the flow of words and ideas may involve graphics or just summaries. The 5 C's of written communication are supported by communication skills such as active listening. What is active listening? It means staying engaged with the speaker and summarising conversations to ensure effective information exchange. Awareness of cultural and personal differences. Developing the team's awareness of cultural and personal differences to reduce misunderstandings and enhance communication capability. Identifying, setting and managing stakeholder expectations. Negotiating with stakeholders reduces the existence of conflicting expectations among the stakeholder community. Enhancement of skills. Enhancing the skills of all team members in the following activities. Persuading a person, a team or an organisation to perform an action. Motivating people and providing encouragement or reassurance. Coaching to improve performance and achieve desired results. Negotiating to achieve mutually acceptable agreements between parties and reduce approval or decision delays. And resolving conflict to prevent disruptive impacts. The fundamental attributes of effective communication activities and developing effective communication artifacts are clarity of the purpose of the communication, i.e. defining what you're talking about, understanding as much as possible about the receiver of the communications, meeting needs and preferences, and monitoring and measuring the effectiveness of the communications. That brings us to trends and emerging practices in project management communications. Trends and emerging practices for project communications management include inclusion of stakeholders in project reviews, inclusion of stakeholders in project meetings, increased use of social computing. I remember many years ago we had one mobile phone in our office, and when I say mobile, perhaps luggable was more appropriate. It looked like an old army field telephone and it was incredibly expensive to use, and so if we wanted to use it, we actually had to make a business case of to why we needed it in a project. And now just about everyone, even school kids, have mobile phones or cell phones depending which country you're in, or handy phones even. Not only are they tiny and cheap to use, but they're also powerful computers and well able to be used with social media. I also use mine for video conferencing with people in other countries. Having the availability of this communications technology can really enhance project communications, especially in things like virtual teams where you might even be in other countries. Tailoring considerations. Okay, as usual, this is a list of things you might want to consider when tailoring the project. It's not going to tell you anything about actually tailoring the project. You'll find it on page 365 of the PMBOK guide. So, for example, it says knowledge management. Does the organisation have a formal knowledge management repository? Is the repository used? But it doesn't say what you should do. If none exists, do you create your own? If one's not used, can you use a small one or do away with it on a small project? Or it just doesn't say. Considerations for agile adaptive environments. Okay, for environments such as these, the main difference is that information is often posted frequently on an open area where everyone can see it at any time. This brings us to the end of Project Communication Management Module Overview. The next lesson is 10.1, Plan Communications Management. Please read the corresponding chapter in the PMBOK guide before watching the video to enhance your learning. Thank you.